We're entering the Canyon Creek charcoal kilns. The kilns were first produced in 1881.
Archaeologist Mike Ryan introduces us to one of Montana's most stunning historical sites. 23 beehive kilns, standing much as they were when they operated from 1884 to 1901. The kilns produced charcoal to provide fuel for the old Hecla Mining Company's silver smelter in nearby Glendale. The kilns were more efficient than the old way of manufacturing charcoal in pits.
Both the production and use of the kilns is very much a lost art. It's not something that is, to my knowledge, done anywhere in the world currently and hasn't been done for many years.
The kilns stand in a 3-acre park listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Through our interpretation we have available, it really helps us bring the stories from that period in Montana to the public.
When the road isn't snowed in, the kilns attract visitors from all over the world.
Well, it may not stack up to the pyramids of Giza, but it is very significant to the history of Montana.
Mike visited the kilns with his dad, also Mike Ryan, when he was just a kid. It's why he went into archaeology.
My father, who was the forest archaeologist at the time, was the one to initiate the preservation at this site.
The Forest Service has preserved many of the kilns, but it left others untouched.
Because the decay of the site is a natural process, and the more we do to preserve the site, we endanger more of its historic integrity. The site gives a stark contrast and juxtaposition between an industrial historic site and the natural setting that surrounds it.
Nestled in thousands of acres of forest, the domes may seem out of place, even alien, but at the same time not alien at all. Man-made, yes, but natural, constructed of brick, mortar, and wood.
It's interesting from an archaeological standpoint, not just for the standing features that are here, but also the story that it tells.
500 yards above the kilns, you still see the outline of the chute where men fed lodgepole pine to the kiln operators below.
Wagons loaded with cut cordwood would back onto the platform, the wood would get unloaded, and then a group of men would use the chute to convey the wood from this location down to the charcoal kiln. All in all, for the Canyon Creek site, as well as the 2 other charcoal kiln sites, 11,000 acres of timber were cut to produce 7.4 million bushels of charcoal. It would have largely denuded the slopes around us.
Their names are lost to time, but mining records show many of the charcoal burners were Italian or French-Canadian.
And while we don't know the specific names of the men who worked here, we are very respectful of the work they did.
Dry lodgepole would be loaded inside from ground level until the men couldn't reach it.
And the kiln would finally be loaded from the catwalk until it was literally stacked full of cordwood.
The wood was then set afire and the burn doors closed. It was incinerator hot.
And the foreman of the job site would watch the smoke coming out of the kiln, both the color and the volume, and know what the condition of the charcoal production inside was. Through the manipulation of the air vents, the men could control with finite accuracy the temperatures inside the kiln.
The wood would burn between a week and 2 weeks.
After the burning period was over, they would let a number of days pass to let the residual temperatures inside the kiln fall to a point where it wouldn't be uncomfortable to go inside.
The charcoal was then loaded for transport to the smelter in Glendale. Glendale was born when gold and silver was discovered in the area in 1871.
Silver was discovered in large quantities. Initially, the first 2 years, the ore was rich enough that it was shipped to Swansea, Wales for processing before the smelter was built.
When the smelter was operating, 1,500 to 2,000 people lived in Glendale.
On this flat bench that is now just a hayfield, 120 years ago would have been the town site of Glendale, Montana.
Located on private land, only a few buildings at the smelter site remain.
So behind me is the stack from the Glendale smelter.
There's the Hecla Mining Company's offices, beautiful structures, still standing.
It's an incredible treasure.
For an archaeologist, they are precious. Here, you don't just see history. Now here is an amazing archaeological find. The original charcoal, with the aroma of its original smoke. The residual of 120 years remains, but the overall landscape isn't the same at all.
They had an effect and an imprint on the environment, but one of the things that this site shows us is that the environment is capable of coming back from that. A small tree like this just signifies growth, change, and recovery.
With time, even the kilns will crumble and meld back into the earth. Mike says time is such a passing thing, and we see just a brief moment of it. Kevin Mackey, NBC, Montana.